Hi everyone, hope you're doing good. In this video I'm going to show you 6 bands that I've fallen out of love with over a period of time. Yeah, it's a video that I've been planning for quite a few months now. Just, looking back at my collection and albums and bands that I don't really listen to a lot anymore, don't really, that I used to like when I was younger, but sort of don't anymore for various reasons. But yeah, obviously tastes change over time. Like bands that I liked when I was a teenager, nowadays some of them I don't like, or some bands that I wasn't too fussed on, I sort of like now, and vice versa. Some of these bands that I'm going to show I might like again in the future. You don't know. But yeah, before we get into the video, if you're new and you're not subbed, please consider dropping me a subscribe for more guitar, rock and metal music content. All feedback and comments are massively appreciated, and massive thanks to everyone's already subscribed and for watching and commenting. Now let's just get straight into the video. Okay, so before we actually start, I'm just going to drop a disclaimer to say that these are just my opinion on bands that I don't like. I mean, a lot of people are probably going to disagree with some of these, but I mean, yeah, it's just my opinion, so there we go. Now let's just get straight into the first one. And the first one is the Beatles. Yeah, just over time, I just decided that I just sort of don't like their music. Their music doesn't really do anything for me anymore. I used to like their kind of early 60s rock and roll sort of style music, which is really cool. But now I just find them really, really dull. A lot of their music's just really bland to me. It just does nothing for me, and all their massive hits are just so overplayed. Like, I've got this album, I've got both of them, and yeah, none of these songs really stand out to me like I want to listen to any of them, to be honest. No, they just don't do anything for me anymore. I don't really like them anymore. I think the hype around the band, it kind of annoys me as well, because I believe they're so overrated with their music, really. I don't really think they're that great. The second pick, I also picked for that non-metal bands that I like, and that's Queen. And yeah, as like sort of mid-teenager, when I first started to get into music, I really liked Queen. I really liked a lot of their like 70s stuff. But now I can't stand them, to be honest. Every time like a song comes on the radio or TV advert or whatever, my eyes just glaze over, and I'm just like, another blooming Queen song again. It's like, I just got fed up with listening to their music, and their 80s stuff, a lot of on the second disc, it's just so awful. It's like pop rock, most of it, and it's like, yeah, it's when they sold out in the 80s, and it's just rubbish. I still think their early 70s stuff is still pretty cool. But yeah, they're overplayed dreadfully, and because of that, I think that's the reason why my love for Queen is sort of just gone to absolutely nothing now. Third band, now these are a metal band, and yeah, a band again that I used to really like, but now I've just gone right off them, and that band is Machine Head. Yeah, I really love this album. This is their debut album, Burn My Eyes. This is brilliant. And the Blackening as well. that is fantastic. And I really enjoy Unto the Locust as well, even though a lot of people kind of started to go off after this album, but I think this one's really good. The albums that I really hate are like the new metal ones they've done in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, like the Burning Red. I think this is just a massive pile of crap, to be honest. And then Catharsis that come out in 2018. I listened to that opening track, that opening single, and I thought it was terrible. I hated it, and ever since, you know, how the band has sort of digressed since then, losing Phil DeMille and Dave McClain, and the music that Rob's been making over the last like 4 years has just got worse and worse, and it's just really put me off them. And how Rob Flynn acts as well, he acts like a bit of a knobhead a lot of the times as well, and that's enough to really kind of put you off the band as well. So yeah, a band that I'm pretty certain they're gonna be making an album, or they've got something in the works, and I probably won't even bother with it because I'm just not interested at all in listening to them anymore, really. The next band I've got on my list is Royal Blood. Again, like when I was about 14, 15 when this album come out, I was all over it. I absolutely loved it, and I still think it's really great now, even though I don't really listen to it as much anymore. And then yeah, their second album, How Did We Get So Dark, as well, that was really good. But the album that they released last year, Typhoons, I thought was absolutely terrible, and I hate the sort of music direction they're going down with that whole like disco synth pop style. No, 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 no. I just think it's awful, and I don't care anymore. And that's it with them. Even though they are a really cool band, they're very unique. They have like two members. The bass player goes through tons of effects and then does the vocals, and then they have a drummer as well, and that's it. But yeah, really unique, cool band. But the music that they've made recently has just really put me off them, and I'm not interested in following what they're going down. So the next band that I wanted to talk about is a band that people probably won't know too much. They were a rock and roll band from Cavan in Ireland, and they were called The Stripes. This is their debut album, come out in 2013, and you can tell how young they are by looking at them basically. I think they averaged about 15 to about 17 when they done this, and this album is really cool. It's really cool, kind of bluesy rock, like rhythm and blues, rock and roll. Really cool album. But then after this, they done an album. I can't even remember what it's called. Is it called Little Victories? Yeah. And that album, they changed up their sound away from that. What made them really cool, I thought, and they sort of went for more of like a modern sound, like an indie mod kind of sound. And for me, it didn't work. I didn't really like it that much. There were a couple of songs that I thought was okay, but overall, I thought I'm not liking this album too much. And then by the time they done their third album, it went down an even more sort of different vibe, and it did not click with me. When I first heard like a single of it, and I thought, I really don't like what they're doing here, and I didn't even bother buying it because I thought I'm really not interested. And now they're split up because obviously that album didn't do very well because they changed their sound up too much, and yeah, they're not going anymore, which is a shame because they had a lot of talent and they had a lot of potential, but they changed their sound up too much. And for someone who, like me, who liked their early sound, their rock and roll, very sort of kind of classic sound, yeah, put me right off them. And yeah, it's a shame that they're not around anymore, but it is what it is. And the last band that I'm going to talk about today is a deathcore band called Whitechapel. And yeah, their sort of early to mid deathcore sounding stuff is really, really cool, really awesome. And then they put out this album called The Valley, and they started to change their sound a bit. They started to deviate away from that a little bit. It's still got some really good. I really love this album. I think it's brilliant. But and even the one they did before this sort of started the trail of this. And then they done an album last year called Kin, which is kind of like the evolution of this into, you know, like almost fully away from deathcore stuff. I really didn't like it. I found it really disappointing when I heard it because I actually really enjoyed the singles that they released. I thought they were really cool. Um, but listening to the album sort of was too slow and melodic, and I just couldn't get into it. And it's a bit disappointing. I've gone off them a little bit from that. Even though I still like that album, and there's one or two albums from their discography that I wouldn't mind picking up, but the route that they're going down, if they're going to keep going down that route, sort of away from the deathcore and sort of bringing more sort of melodic, slower parts in, it doesn't really work with me. It doesn't fit, and it doesn't click. So yeah, they're a band that I've gone off completely because of the album they released last year. Just before we end the video, I just wanted to give a quick little honourable mention to another band I believe I said in my 12 non-metal bands that I liked. I was going to give an honourable mention to the Smiths because, again, they're a band that I don't necessarily hate, but I haven't really gone off them. I just don't listen to them anymore. Compared to what I used to when I was a teenager, I got into them a bit and started listening to them quite a lot. And they have got some cool songs, but yeah, they're just a band that I haven't listened to and probably wouldn't go out my way to want to listen to or buy any of their stuff. But if it came on, say, the radio or on a TV advert or whatever, I'd like it. It'd be cool. So that was my video going through bands that I've fallen out of love with and don't really listen to anymore. I don't really like anymore. Yeah, what do you think to my picks? Do you agree or disagree or have no opinion on any of them? What bands have you fallen out of love with over the last couple of years or whatever? Like maybe due to an album, or you just gone off the band. You know, maybe like me with the Beatles, they just, because they're talked about so much and they're everywhere, it's like kind of annoys you. Yeah, so thanks ever so much for watching. I'd love to see what you say in the comments, and until the next time, keep rocking.